Good morning, distinguished visitors, ladies and gentlemen, members of the international relations and the U.W.I community, and in particular, our panelists, both those who are here and those who are overseas and participating. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you to our discussion this morning, Contending Perspectives on Governance in Haiti, Whither the Current Crisis. My name is Jessica Byron. I'm the director of the Institute, as most of you know anyway. But I suppose I should say it for the record. I'm sorry we are starting a bit late this morning. We have been having some technical problems in making a firm link with one of our participants who is in Port-au-Prince. We are waiting for her to rejoin us, but in the meantime, we are going to start anyway, in the hope that we can speak to Dr. Manigat later on. I just want to say a few words about the origins of this particular panel. Now, as most of you know, Haiti became a member of CARICOM in 2007, finally, fully. But Haiti has long interacted with the rest of the Caribbean in a number of ways, and Haiti has always been extremely influential in shaping the international relations of this region, in shaping the thoughts of this region concerning identity, concerning freedom and justice, citizenship, and many other important themes. Lamentably, though, many of us, even though Haiti is a member of our community, we are often quite out of touch with developments in Haiti and with giving sufficient thought to the implications of those developments for Haiti, for the rest of the region, and for the hemisphere as a whole. And so one of the missions of the Institute of International Relations is to continually do public outreach and have programs of public education. And so this panel is one in the series of those events. Haiti has been involved in a very difficult economic and political transition over the last few years, and particularly during 2018 and early 2019, there has been a precipitous escalation of inflation, particularly of fuel prices. There have been persistent outbreaks of social unrest, and also persistent questions about governance, both political governance in general and financial governance. And these have resulted in 3 bouts of social unrest since July 2018. And in light of that, we thought that this would be a very good topic for our reflections this morning. I am very happy that all our distinguished panelists agreed to participate. And I just want to say a bit about the panelists. We have with us Ms. Sandra Honore, a former ambassador of Trinidad and Tobago. She is an alumna of the Institute of International Relations, of whom we are very proud, and of the University of the West Indies. Her diplomatic experience includes assignments to the Trinidad and Tobago embassies in Brazil and in the United States of America. She was also director of the Foreign Ministry's CARICOM and Caribbean Affairs Division, and she also served as chief of protocol. ambassador to Costa Rica with concurrent accreditations to Guatemala and Panama. Ms. Honore then became Chief of Staff to the Assistant Secretary General of the Organization of American States from 2000 and 2005. And during that time, she supervised many aspects of the OAS General Secretariat's work on Haiti and the OAS Special Mission for Strengthening Democracy in Haiti. She was appointed by the UN Secretary General as his special representative and head of the United Nations Stabilization Mission in Haiti, MINUSTA, in 2013, and she served there until the end of that mission in October 2017. Welcome, Ms. Honore. Now, I would like to mention our two overseas participants. With us online, we have Dr. Fabienne Alvarez. Welcome, Fabienne. She is a senior lecturer at the Université Antilles, Fouillol campus, Pointe-à-Pitre, Guadeloupe. She holds a PhD in Management Studies from the Université Paris-Dauphine, and her teaching, research, and consultancy work are all focused on managerial innovation and human relations. Dr. Alvarez is a member of the Haitian diaspora, and she is based in Guadeloupe. The diaspora has played a very active role in some of the current reflections on democracy and governance in Haiti. Dr. Sabine Manigat, who we are still trying to reach, is a graduate of the Institute of Political Studies of Paris. She also holds a degree in history from the University of Paris 7 and DEA in Social Sciences from the Facultad Latinoamericana de Ciencias Sociales, Flaxo, in Mexico City. Dr. Manigat has worked as a professor and researcher at Flaxo from 1978 to 1986, and since 1986, she has been a lecturer at the State University of Haiti and also at Quisqueya University in Port-au-Prince. I wanted to mention that her recent publications include Haiti CARICOM. Salut, Sabine. Welcome.
Yes. At last I was able to contact you. I'm sorry, I had difficulties.
Yes, but I'm very happy that those have been solved. I'm just completing the introductions, and then since you're with us, we'll get you to start in the order of the program. Okay?
Fine.
Okay. Well, I just want to conclude that Sabine Manigat collaborated with us recently in this collaborative work on Pan-Caribbean regionalism beyond CARICOM, and she contributed this chapter on Haiti and CARICOM. I would also like to mention that we are delighted to have Sabine Manigat with us today. She is the daughter of the former director of this institute, the first Caribbean director of the institute, Professor Leslie Manigat, who directed the institute following Swiss direction up until 1978, I believe. So welcome, Sabine. This is very important and symbolic for us to have you with us today.
Thank you all.
Okay. And our final panelist, I'm introducing her last, but not at all least, because she is an integral part of the Institute of International Relations, is Dr. Jacqueline Laguardia Martinez. She is one of our lecturers, and previously she was associate professor at University of Havana and researcher at the Cuban Institute for Cultural Research, Juan Marinello. Jacqueline is very much involved in scholarly activities throughout the region. And it's very important to note that she is the coordinator of the CLACSO working group on crisis responses and alternatives in the wider Caribbean, in the Gran Caribe. Now, CLACSO is the Latin American Congress of Social Sciences Research. Jacqueline is also a member of LASA, the CSA, and of course, of the Cátedra de Estudios del Caribe, Norman Gervin, at the University of Havana. Thank you, Jacqueline. So that's the lineup for today. Without any further ado, I invite Dr. Sabine Manigat to make her presentation on Haiti's governance challenges, a view from Port-au-Prince. Over to you, Sabine.
Thank you, and good morning to all. I have prepared sort of provocative presentation in order to stimulate the debates around our theme. My presentation will be in three parts. One will deal with the present situation. I will try not to give too many details, but just to describe generally what the situation is in politically and institutionally today. Then I will focus on a more structural historical analysis of what I believe the governance challenges have been the governance challenges in Haiti for generations. And then I will briefly allude to Haiti in the region and in the CARICOM context. So the first thing I wanted to stress is that the present situation is now of a very tense calm, but we can say that probably during the month of March or April, there should be other developments, political developments, and maybe demonstrations in Port-au-Prince and in Haiti in general. Why is that? Firstly, because we are now facing a situation where all the social and political actors have taken a position towards the present system and the present government. Talking about the actors, I'm talking about four main groups that are acting presently in the political crisis. The first one, of course, is the one that is around the ruling party, PHTK. The second one is constituted by a small but important part of what I would call the moderate political organizations around parties like Fusion, OPL, and others that are less important institutionally, but that have a voice in what is being discussed. The third main actor, I would call the radical opposition, which has been very noisy, but not necessarily has the lead in the movement. And the fourth actor, which has voiced its position for the first time maybe in the history of Haiti so clearly, is the private sector. And the business leaders have clearly expressed not only that they have a say in what is being discussed, but that they also have a position. And several of them, including a well-known businessman, Reginald Boulos, has announced that they are organizing a political movement to express and to participate in the in what is announced to be a dialogue, a national dialogue between the parties. Now let's get to this dialogue thing. The main issues appear to be, first, will the government resign or not? Well, this is not a secondary issue, but it probably is not. It has nothing to do with the outcomes of the present crisis, because if there has been a position more or less general now, including parts of the private sector, that the president and the prime minister should resign. However, with the stalemate that has lasted for 2 weeks now, or 10 days after the upheavals, there is a need now for the people to talk. There are groups that are organizing to offer alternatives to this radical change of leaders and of government. But there is a general position that the permanence of the present government should not be a condition for the dialogue. Everybody is asking the government, the president, and the prime minister to consider resignation if we do not get to a more or less a general understanding to calm down the situation and start looking at the structural problems. Now, if we take a more historical and structural stance to consider what is going on in Haiti, in my opinion, there is a political frame and class structure that has now come to an end. For a long time, there has been this idea that Haiti cannot go on like this, that things have to change, but there have always been mechanisms of several sectors and several, in the class structure, I would say the private sector, the oligarchy as well, who have managed to maintain the system with several formulas. The two governments of Préval has been one formula. The Martelly and Jovenel has been another formula. But to try to maintain a system that since 1986, in my view, has now to change. Recently, with the acceleration of the crisis, of the economic crisis, and also the fact that these new sectors, I'm talking about the private sectors in particular, has for the first time said we have to change the system, then the discussion now is more on what are the basis of the system and what has to change. Of course, there has been a political system that has taken that have replaced the Duvalier dictatorship, but it was, I wouldn't say it was imposed, but it was placed in a context where it was not possible for it to work properly. The institutions that were organized after Duvalier actually were filled up very easily and very quickly by the same old actors of the old oligarchical system. How do you call that? See that? Clientelist? Do you all understand this word, don't you? The client system within the modern frames of the institution have made the whole historic system, the historical frame in Haiti to last all these 30 years. But actually, it is a system that is no longer working. And today, what we see with citizen groups organizing, with civil society organizing and expressing itself with a lot of, in my view, in a very mature way, are expressing that. And the private sector also realizes that it cannot go on with this system, that it also is losing with this type of social structure and social relationships. Now, are there consequences in terms of what the present crisis can lead us to? Yes, there are consequences. The first one is that the economic system, the economic life has not stopped, but is in hibernation. And we have a very strong political moment where people are more interested in having their say in the changes that have to be discussed than really going along with the daily economic crisis that is going on. This is interesting, but it cannot be a lasting situation because the crisis is very strong, and the solutions that have been, for instance, proposed by the core group maybe 3 weeks ago, several months ago after the November crisis, and reiterated now in February. These are options, proposals like to organize and speed the elections, to have an inclusive dialogue, to maintain the present presidency and in government until the elections. These are elements that suppose that people are still ready to accept that external actors can decide on the consequences and the way out of the crisis. I have heard personalities from the private sector saying, if we have to go to the ultimate phase of this crisis and look at each other and solve this, it has to be within a Haitian context, only with Haitian actors. Now, I haven't heard either that Haiti should be shut down until a solution comes out. All the sectors talk about the need not only to inspire on other contexts and other experiences, but also to consider what could be the best way of helping Haiti out of the situation. But when it comes to what help means, that's when the discussions start. That leads me to how I see Haiti in the regional and CARICOM context. I've always been of the opinion that Haiti is not such a exceptional, folklorical, hopeless case like sometimes the international press like to paint it. But it is, within the regional context, yes, it is a specific case. in the sense that many of the features of what we call today good governance or governance in with its good and bad parts have not been set in place historically in Haiti because of this very exclusive system that left out of the most basic services the vast majority of the population. Now, this gives us certain specificities, but that are not unique in the way that, for instance, migration has always been a way out to this. But migration, we know that it's been a way out, and it's been a culture in the rest of the region as well. When I look at the figures of migrants from the very Dominican Republic, Jamaica, and other countries, it is not that, to me, that is exceptional. What is the problem is how, in the internal frame of the Haitian society, how the balances are between these institutions, these relations that are more fit to modern governance. How do they fit in with a population that has not received the minimum of educational, wealth, health, basic services that would allow her to participate in another way? I think I will stop here. I will be happy to hear other opinions, and of course I'm open to the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sabine. That was a very good start. I now call on Ms. Honore to continue.
Hello, Sandra. I can hear you.
We are going to put her in front of the camera, and I think that you will then be able to see her more clearly.
Okay.
Thank you, Professor Byron. Good morning to all present, and good morning also to fellow panelists, Dr. Manigat, Dr. Laguardia, Martinez, and Dr. Alvarez. I realized in the discussion which I had with Professor Byron when she mentioned this workshop to me, seminar, as has been said already by her, and has also perhaps been intimated by Dr. Manigat, it seems that there are many elements of what is happening in Haiti now that are not well known to the rest of the Caribbean, and certainly to the English-speaking Caribbean. Dr. Manigat mentioned the deteriorating economic situation over the past few months, and that is very much the case. In order to understand the recent civil unrest, I would just offer a few comments. What we saw in February in Haiti, when the country was virtually locked down, and this was the expression that was used by the organizers of the demonstrations, it was referred to as pays lock, for about a week in February of 2019, we can go back, I'm sure Dr. Manigat will agree with me, we can go back many years, but I think a significant moment, a point or a trigger, was the July 6th and 7th unrest in Haiti last year, to which Professor Byron referred. And those came after Haiti had signed an agreement with the International Monetary Fund to carry out structural reforms to promote growth. Among other things, the position of the IMF coming to this agreement with Haiti was that removal of fuel subsidies would free up resources for important things or other important things like education, health, and job creation. So the Ministry of the Economy and Finance and the Ministry of Industry and Commerce announced on the evening of July the 6th that as of midnight on July the 7th, there would be gas price increases of 38%, diesel price increase of 47%, and kerosene price increase of 51%. Some cynics have pointed to the fact that the ministries in question were very much aware of the impopularity or what would be the unpopularity of these measures. And so the announcement was made on the evening that Brazil and Belgium were facing off in the quarterfinals of the World Cup. We know what the result of that game was, and it is felt that because Haiti is such an ardent supporter of the Brazilian football team, that there was a lot of frustration building up at the end of that. So demonstrations started on the 6th, continued on to July the 7th, and basically the protesters were accusing the government of being out of touch with their economic difficulties, which is not unusual. Not for the government, I mean, but not unusual that the protesters would put this forward, as has been seen in similar situations elsewhere in the Caribbean and in the world. The government was forced to withdraw the measures following these demonstrations. The Prime Minister was, the government, in the person of the Prime Minister, was summoned to the Parliament for a motion of no confidence on the 14th of July. And during that session, the Prime Minister announced to the Parliament that he had tendered his resignation to the President. This, of course, led to the appointment by President Moïse on August 5th of Jean-Henri Séan, who had been a candidate in the presidential elections in which President Moïse, or by which President Moïse came to office in October of 2015, the first election, and then subsequently in 2016. So you have a Prime Minister and government assuming office in September of 2018. The government indicated the general policy statement of Prime Minister Séan advised that the government was going to focus on reform and strengthening of the health system, on fiscal and customs reform, the fight against corruption and contraband, job creation, bringing back confidence to the country's young people, and reduction of the cost of the state, among other things. Prime Minister Séan also said that he was going to pay particular attention at the request of President Moïse to finalizing inquiries into the use of Petrocaribe funds, which had been provided by Venezuela since 2008 for use in social programs in Haiti. So that is September of 2018. By October, the 212th anniversary of the assassination of the Emperor Jean-Jacques Dessalines, tens of thousands of people demonstrated mostly peacefully in almost all of Haiti's major cities, Jacmel, Les Cayes, Gonaïves, Cap-Haïtien, Saint-Marc, and Port-au-Prince, of course, to demand yet again that light should be shed on what was described as the misuse of funding under the Petrocaribe program with Venezuela. That demonstration in October 2018 saw a number of violent clashes between the police and protesters. Not a very good scene. The demonstrations, accompanying the demonstrations, was the destruction of several business places. Cars were burnt in the streets, and so on. All public transit was suspended, state offices were closed, and many of the protesters started demanding the resignation of President Moïse. Fast forward to November of 2018, the 18th of November, Haiti is now commemorating the 215th anniversary of the Battle of Vertières, the decisive battle that led to the independence of Haiti in January of 1804. There's a lot of tension in the country, increasing calls for the resignation of President Moïse. And things were so bad that the president opted not to travel to the northern city of Cap-Haïtien, where the commemoration of the Battle of Vertières normally takes place, and he paid homage to Haiti's independence heroes in Port-au-Prince. Vertières, incidentally, for the first time, recently was put into one of the dictionaries of the French Academy since 1803, 18th November 1803. This major battle in the fight for Haitian independence didn't appear in any of the documentation in France, and Danny Laferrière was the one, a Haitian-born member of the French Academy, to announce this a couple of weeks ago. So we leave November 2018 and we come to February, and Dr. Manigat mentioned the demonstrations which started on the 7th of February, which lasted up until about the 14th. The second anniversary, the 7th anniversary, the 7th of February was the second anniversary of the assumption of office of President Moïse. Again, demonstrations convened by some members of the political opposition, also with a view to commemorating the 33rd anniversary of the fall of the Duvalier regime, because it was on the 7th of February in 1986 that Jean-Claude Duvalier left Haiti. The demonstrations, protests against the high cost of living, protests against unemployment, and the continued call for the resignation of the president. This Pays Loc, as I mentioned, saw the country shut down for a full week, government offices unable to open, schools unable to function in their normal manner, and a kind of general strike during that week. Strike with concerns being manifest over corruption, galloping inflation, high exchange rate of the gourd against the US dollar. The gourd 1 year before had been 64 to the US dollar. By February of 2019, it was 84 gourds to the US dollar, with increasing costs for basic foodstuffs. During this period of a week, there were lots of attacks on banks, on business places, both in Port-au-Prince and in other cities, with the population, generally speaking, the civil society, generally speaking, all coming out, as Dr. Manigat has mentioned, with statements reinforcing the points that she has made about the need for a change in the economic and political system, with comments coming from all sectors of civil society, from political parties, the moderate, radical political parties, from the Association of Private Hospitals of Haiti, for instance, because hospitals were facing major challenges with respect to electricity, fuel, oxygen even. Some political actors use the opportunity of these demonstrations, obviously, to defend their own interests. Statements from the Conference of Catholic Bishops, from the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Haiti, and other private sector organizations. What was curious about this week was that it took some 6 days before the president addressed the nation and subsequently the prime minister to indicate some measures that they would put in place to respond to the appeals of the population, including reduction of costs of basic foodstuffs. The president established a committee to facilitate inter-Haitian dialogue, and this goes back to a comment made by Dr. Manigat also about the fact that things have reached the point where, according to one friend of mine in Haiti, it is very clear that everyone is convinced that the country has reached a certain turning point and that the solution or the solutions to be presented are solutions that will have to be Haitian solutions, inter-Haitian solutions, and that it will have to be a kind of common project of the society as a whole in order to be able to move forward. This friend of mine used a curious expression. He said, "We are not normally formatted to grant concessions to one another." And it is a comment that one has heard before, and I'm giving it as a comment coming from a Haitian observer. The fact is that the government, from the signs that it has been giving, seems very much aware that dialogue is the way out, dialogue is the way forward. There is a kind of tense calm which is existing in the country at the present time. But one needs to look forward to what might be the reactions of the population, the reactions of the civil society writ large, based on what is done or what is not done by the government as the country moves forward. The government, the IMF, has last week concluded at the staff level, it still has to be agreed upon by the board of the IMF, an extended credit facility of some $226 million over the next 3 years at 0% interest to focus on work in the social sector. Not that that is going to be the solution to everything, but I am just pointing it out as something that one needs to also look at. A tense calm in the country right now. The 29th of March will be the 32nd anniversary of the Constitution, of the adoption of the Constitution of 1987. Before the 29th of March comes the 17th of March, which would be the date of the 6 months in office of the current government of Prime Minister Seya. That is significant in a way because in the Haitian constitutional system, a government is given a kind of grace period, as it were, of 6 months when it assumes office. And having assumed office virtually 6 months ago, it will be left to be seen what kind of reaction there might be from the parliament, from the population, to what it considers to be the gains that it has been able to see in this 6-month period. So we have that the 17th of March, the 29th of March, the anniversary of the 1987 Constitution, 32nd anniversary. And these dates tend to be very significant in the Haitian context. So we will see what happens as we go forward. There are some people who feel that something needs to be done to develop some more hope in the country, more hope in the possibilities. So we will see how things proceed after this tense calm, and how the Haitian actors in the society writ large are able to come together and engage in some kind of dialogue. Some have declared that they will not engage in dialogue with the government, with the president, and there are some who have made it quite clear that they realize the critical nature of the situation right now and that they would be prepared to engage in this. And so I think it would be very interesting to see how this proceeds and to what extent there is success coming from the ground. Thank you.
Ms. Honore, and I now call on Dr. Laguardia to continue. Dr. Laguardia is, in her analysis, also going to be presenting some of the positions of civil society groups in Haiti who are members of the CLACSO group. We are going to share the screen so that both those of you who are here and our panelists overseas can see her PowerPoint.
Hi. Well, good morning. Thanks for the invitation. And of course, I would like to thank the panelists, Ambassador Honore, Dr. Manigat, that was before me. Actually, I'm realizing we are a female panel, so happy March the 8th. We keep on working on women empowerment, so this is good. I have a very challenging task because I'm not only delivering my perspective as researcher, but also I'm trying to put forward the ideas and the positions that we as a research group have been talking about Haiti for a few months already. As Professor Byron was, well, as Professor Byron was indicating, I'm here today also in the capacity of the chair of the working group of CLACSO. CLACSO is the Conference of the Latin American Social Science, And even if it is a group that is usually looking at Latin American issues, we have also understood the importance of looking at Caribbean matters as well. And definitely Haiti for Latin American history and Haiti for Latin America as a whole is a very important country, not only because of historic reasons, but also for what the present of the Caribbean means for the whole Latin America. So this is why it is not strange that within a Latin American environment and Latin American research place, the Caribbean has importance and Haiti is also very important. To prepare this presentation, actually, I asked the rest of the researchers in this group to send their impressions, to send their opinions. As I told you before, we have been tracking the situation in Haiti, especially because as part of our group, there is Professor Camille Chalmers. I'm sure that many of you that are involved in Haitian political and intellectual life know him. And so this is why we have also this very close relation to what has been going on in Haiti. I've been asked in this presentation to share then our perspective in terms of the implication of current developments in Haiti, especially for governance issues in Haiti. What are the factors underlying the social protests, and also what are the prospects for the solution of the situation we are facing now? I'm not going to address that necessarily in that order, especially because of the previous panelists have done a really very good job actually in terms of presenting what have been the recent developments and the historical structural factors. So I'm sure that I can just go very quickly on that. The main point I would like to make here is that this situation has been more visible, and I say more visible in brackets because it has been invisible for many parts of the Caribbean, Latin America, and the rest of the world. But in terms of gaining visibility, we can track that new recent moment to mid-2018. But the truth is that we have been following this increase of social unrest in Haiti since the end of 2016. And we are going to see the reason of that. By the way, as you can see, the chronology is in Spanish because, as I told you, we are a working Latin American group. And since Trinidad is also looking for this bilingual goal, I believe it's okay for you to also have some information in Spanish as well. There are many factors that are underlying this increased social unrest. And we can see that we can track that from this new political cycle with the election of President Moïse. And this political cycle has been also working in parallel with a very deteriorating economic situation. And there are different factors that are explaining that. As a trigger moment, we have, as the panelists explained before, the increase on the oil prices that was announced in July 2018. Actually, that measure was announced, but it couldn't be implemented because of the tremendous resistance that it had. And this is the moment when the previous Prime Minister actually had to resign. And we have the new Prime Minister, Jean Séant, that is the one that is actually now trying to cope with this whole situation. The situation keep on deteriorating. October 2018, November 2018, we had these major protests in many cities in Haiti. And then we arrived into February 2019 also with a new wave of protests that are not only now demand, that are actually encompassing a very wide range of demands. We are going to see a little bit more on that. What are the factors underlying the protests? There are many of them. Many of them has historically been there. They have economic, social, structural reasons. But as trigger points, we can see that there is a renewed energy crisis in Haiti. And this is something that has been responding to two main situations. First, the oil that has been provided by Petrocaribe to Haiti, this oil supply has been diminishing as a result of the economic situation in Venezuela, and also because of the evolution of oil prices in the global market. So we can see that the Petrocaribe supplies to Haiti has been diminishing. Haiti started to function within the Petrocaribe system, that is actually a very ambitious program of oil supplies, and also to give funds for development, social development in Caribbean countries. We can see that these Petrocaribe oil supplies has been sustained from 2018, but since 2015, we can see a decrease. And at the same time, we can see that Haiti has been using more of its own budget to pay for the oil supplies out of the Petrocaribe system. So all of that has put more stress into the public finances, and definitely there is a fiscal deficit that has been sustainably increased sustainably. We can also see that there is, of course, the link. All this economic situation that is deteriorating has been a significant impact on inflation, and of course in people's life and people well-being. From 2010, I mean, here the situation, we can see that inflation was there but has been contained. But since 2015, when we see that, 2016, when we see that Petrocaribe oil started to diminish, when we can see that actually there was more stress in terms of how to cope with oil supplies for Haiti in the global market, we can see that inflation definitely has increased. And this is also responding to the measures that the government has had to implement in order to actually have some money to function. It has been even more stressful in 2017 and 2018. So all of that is actually putting more pressure into a very stressful economic and social situation. Haiti has been suffering from very reduced economic growth. This is a trend that actually is coming from the beginning of the decade, and Haiti has not been able actually to overcome this slow economic growth. This is to put even more stress. We have that official donations to Haiti has been decreasing. Look at the difference between 2010 and 2018, and also there are numbers I don't have there, but foreign direct investment has been decreasing as well. So you are in an environment where you don't have resources pouring into the country. You need to find resources actually to function, and the best idea the government got, of course, in a very pressure environment, was to start eliminating subsidies. And these subsidies, the subsidies that were targeted, as were explained before, were the ones that has to do with oil and gas for Haitian population. Of course, people accepted a first increase in May 2017, but the one in July 2018 was impossible to put forward. That was too much for people. This is another thing that we have identified very interesting in this recent wave of protests is how different sectors of Haitian social life has been participating. We can see here social media also playing a role. And one of a very interesting engine in all this organization and all these people gathering has been actually a challenge. Young people know what challenge and hashtags are. That was launched actually from a Haitian artist that live in the diaspora in Canada. So it is also very important to understand how these factors that has always been there are coming together and interacting in new different ways. The challenge was called the Petrocaribe Challenge, and it is tied to the fact that in the midst of all this economic situation, we also had a tremendous corruption scandal. And this corruption scandal is tied to the fact that there is no a clear answer on what has been done with the Petrocaribe funds that were supposed to be used for social development from 2008 until 2016. There has been 2 reports by 2 parliamentary commissions, and later at the beginning of the year, the Haitian audit court actually also confirmed that the reports were right in terms of identifying that there is a massive sum between I believe it's 2 billion, 3 billion US dollars that there is no actually response on what has been done with this money. So there is also all this scandal of corruption, and all of that definitely has made people to actually become more aware, become more conscious, and actually to come with a list of demands that I believe are quite ambitious and mature, as we heard from our first panelist. So what are the prospects for resolution? There has been a call for dialogue, of course. Since the beginning of the year, there has been attempts of the government to actually start to find a response to the situation that actually seems to, I mean, the protest, it doesn't seem that they are going to end very soon, this protest movement. So they are a group of measures that has been announced. And as you can see, these measures package is trying to respond in a certain extent to the different demands that has been put forward in the protest. There is the, of course, the commitment of the government to fight corruption. Definitely the whole Petrocaribe scandal is part of many corruptions and transparency issues within the Haitian political life. There is, of course, the commitment to actually keep on with the investigation to know what happened with the Petrocaribe funds. There's also the proposal to actually start with these austerity measures, but from the top. We cannot start cutting subsidies to vulnerable people and do not make adjustments on people that actually have more. And also there is the calling for the private sector to consider an increase in the minimum wage. And this is interesting because we can see that the private sector has also been articulating itself in this protest in ways that have not seen before. So also, as you can see, they are being considered more and more part of this new political spectrum in the Haitian situation. We can also see that on March the 7th, so a few days ago, the IMF announced a pre-agreement in terms of a loan to Haiti for about 20-30 million concessional loan in the framework of an extended credit facility agreement. What is interesting to see is that this kind of solution was already attempted in 2015. And at the moment, the agreement, the ECF agreement, has to be suspended in 2016 because actually there was no possibility for all these revisions and transparency and reporting issues that the Haitian government was supposed to fulfill in the terms of the agreement. So let's see how it goes now. So what is, and this is pretty much for me to conclude, what we can see in the region and especially in Haiti, what we can see is that there are new manifestations, new trends in how this social response is structured at this moment in time. It is we have the feeling that there is a kind of rebirth of civic commitment. People now is more informed, people is more organized, people is more mature in terms of the demands and in terms of the trying to defend their rights, their civic rights. We can also see that there is these protests, they can express in many different ways. They are the traditional ways of the protest that actually ends on blocking streets, and all this kind of unrest. But we can also see that they are more organized, peaceful demonstrations in different places in Haiti. So we can see that all of that is now combining actually in terms of being in a systematic social protest mood, for calling it in a certain way. It is interesting also to see how social media has been added as a new engine of organization, a new engine of sharing information, and a new engine, especially for young people and people that is not necessarily in Haiti, to come together, share information, and actually try to organize. And it is interesting to see that as a combination of all of that, normal people, citizens, are conducting their own investigations. So people, for instance, there are people that go to a place where it was supposed to be, have been built an stadium with the Petrocaribe funds. They go there, they take a picture, they say, look, there's nothing here. So people start sharing that information, and people has become their own masters or their own investigations, since they can see that there are not responses that actually are coming from the government to what has happened. It is interesting also to see that even if demands started against the rise of prices and calling for this Petrocaribe research to actually be fully done, and people bring to justice the ones that actually rob or misuse the funds, we can see that demands now are not only there. Actually, demands have become more ambitious, and people are asking for a set of demands that has to do with economic, social, political issues. And since most of these demands have not got an answer yet, this is why we believe that definitely these social protests and social movements are going to continue, because people are not getting clear answers of what the real questionings and demands are. There is something that I also would like to stress, and has to do with the international response. Before, Ambassador Honore talked about the core group and also about the international response, and we can see that it has been very timid, especially if you ask and if you see Latin American news and Latin American channels, there is pretty much a complete silence of what is going on in Haiti. And I mean, Latin American and the Caribbean is the regions around Haiti. If you don't get information there, definitely it is pretty much invisible in terms of the news. And the same with political leaders in the region. What we can see for fact is that the core group has done a declaration, and I should say that there is a major questioning in this core group action, especially because there are no Latin American, no Caribbean representative in the core group, and at the moment there are no Haitian institutions neither participating there. So this is also something that has been at certain point questioned in terms of who are the ones that actually are coming forward with some kind of statements on the situation. There's also questioning on the role of CARICOM. CARICOM has not been acting with decision in terms of what is going on in Haiti. What are the statements? What CARICOM should do, especially considering that Haiti is a full member of CARICOM. So what is going on in the Caribbean region in terms of actually have an opinion and something to actually a reaction on that matter? There is also a questioning in terms of the effectiveness of how these measures could be actually put in place. Is going to be a real possibility for the measures that were announced before to be implemented? There are some, there is a major question in terms that this is not going to be possible. They are going against many political commitments that has been done before. And it also has to do with the fact that even within the political class in Haiti today, there is a major division. There are divisions that you can see between the executive and the parliament. There are divisions in terms of the political parties, even within the opposition, and all of that is putting also in question the fact that a dialogue can be fully developed, because there are many contradictions within the actors that are engaged in this whole situation. What is interesting also to see is that this social protest is not only asking for demands, but there is a major understanding that the system doesn't work. So there is a questioning on the whole economic, social, political structure in Haiti. So this is a moment to actually rethink on a major transformation. This is actually what part of all these social protests and demands are pointing at. And also we can see as part of the old questionings in many social actors in Haiti about the possibility that if this issue is not solved by Haitians, that could be the possibility of new foreign presence in Haiti to actually peace and trying to control and try to put some stability in the country. And there are still a lot of questions in terms of the role that actually played the MINUSTA. Let us remember that there has been demand for reparation for cholera introduction. So all of that is also part of this environment that is making very difficult for a resolution and to be put forward. I will just finish by, giving you the information on some statement that our working group actually did last December on 2018, where we actually identified not necessarily identify, but try to put, try to make people to give attention of what was going in Haiti, especially in the Latin American community, and trying to make the point that the Haitian situation today is actually something that should concern not only Haitians, but also the whole Caribbean and the Latin American region in general. Thank you very much.
Laguardia, and we now go to our final panelist, Dr. Fabienne Alvarez, who is joining us from Guadeloupe.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Jessica, for inviting me to participate in discussions on this very important topic of governance in Haiti. Many things have been said by the three previous lecturers. So I will focus more on what I consider being questions or issues that may maybe contribute to the debate and bring some tracks for discussions. In order to do so, I will come back to some elements that have been presented and underlined by the three previous speakers. Some of them will be expressed in terms of questions, and some others are more like remarks. My first track of reflection refers to the question that was addressed by Sabine Manigat regarding how to help Haiti. Linked to the what exception, what comprehension, and what meaning to give to that notion of helping Haiti. And also linked to what was just said by the previous speaker, Jacqueline, saying that today in Haiti, people observe a strong opposition to foreign presence that is considered as occupation. So in this context, how can help be conceived towards Haiti? My second question or second reflection refers to the notion of the end of class structure that was also presented earlier in relation to political change. And my question is, how can we conceive to bring change to a country, to Haiti, in this context of a population not satisfying its basic needs as food, security, house, and so on. And making a link with the notion of the rebirth of civic awareness, my question is, to what extent this rebirth of civic awareness can provide to support in the context of these basic needs not being satisfied today. My third point is linked to the Haitian solution, the need for an Haitian solution around a common project. And the speakers the three of them talked about dialogue as being the way out. My reflection goes towards the efficiency or effectiveness of in applicating this project. And listening to what was said, I couldn't help making a link with what happened 10 years ago in Guadeloupe, because today in 2019, in March, we celebrated the 10 years of the end of the strong social movement that was called LKP, Lionnage contre Profitation, who was a really big social, economic, and also partly political movement with 44 days of strikes, of economic blocking, of demonstrations. This is a movement 10 years ago that was organized by LKP that regrouped around 40 organizations, economic, political parties, economic actors, civil society, and also cultural organization and actors. And 10 years ago, the question of was it worth the cost is still a really actual and hot question, because there is no consensus of whether this really big social movement, economic and social movement, how this movement led to ameliorations and increase in the different points that were brought by the organization. The point that made this movement start is quite the same. It's the movement started in December 2008 over the question of the increase of the price of fuel. And it was just a small movement, but then in January, it started back because the organization had a big platform of revendications, of points, of arguments on economic situation, education, sustainable development, transport, quality of life. And they tried to meet represent the person, the institution that represents the French government in Guadeloupe, who was the préfet, and they were not received at the beginning. And that is how this movement got more power. And at the highest of the movement, some people say because they're not they don't all agree on the number of manifestants, but at the highest of the movement, it is said that 60,000 people were in the streets. And regarding the total population of Guadeloupe, 400,000, it means 15%. So 10 up to 15%, which is huge. This point to say that to come back to the common project and to the necessity of dialogue, and the question is maybe a little provocative, but is dialogue enough to first end up the crisis, but then to build up a common project that could be effectively applicated and respond to social and political demands of the different actors in presence. I will stop there to open the question and discussions on these three issues, how to help, and how can we talk of the common project dialogue, and how to achieve change in with these the level of life of Haitian population today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fabienne. What I'm going to do now is to open the floor for comments and questions, and I would like you, when you make a contribution, to identify yourself. Now, our speakers overseas, you may not always see the persons asking the questions, but well, I'll try to help as much as I can. We will have a round of questions, and then I will ask the panel to respond, and maybe we will then have a second round. We'll see how our time goes. So I see two hands up first. Mr. Dukaran, would you like to start? And then there's a gentleman behind. Yeah.
First of all, let me say that this has been an extraordinarily informative session.
You see, remember that we have panelists who are overseas who cannot see you, so say who you are.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay, my name is Winston Dukaran. I'm here at the Institute of International Relations. And I was quite impressed by the breadth of the discussion, but I liked very much the last question that was raised by our speaker from Guadeloupe when she said, is dialogue enough? And when I listened to the other speakers, I sensed that there are a political dimension to this dialogue. And what is at stake in the politics of the dialogue is really what I would like to get some comment on from the different speakers. What really is at stake in the politics of the dialogue that is being proposed.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Sean Valley, and I am alumnus of the Institute of International Relations, graduated in the summer of 2010. As opposed to a question, it's more of an observation. Well, first of all, I want to give kudos to the panel because, as Mr. Dukaran rightly said, this was very informative and well put together. So congrats to the director of the Institute as well. But my observation is, just from because I'm very curious about world history and stuff of that nature. One thing I've always noted that most societies who've gone through a difficult period in the history of the past unfortunately, at some point in time, they have to hit a rock bottom before they can start to climb back up again. And in the context of Haiti, what I am hoping, or what has been hoping, is that the unfortunate earthquake in 2010, where a significant segment of their population lost their lives on damage and whatnot, I'm hoping that could have been the rock bottom in Haiti's case, and their economies and their social infrastructure, whatnot, could have started getting a move on from there. And just like an observation or a suggestion I wanted to put forward, that basically, okay, like Haiti as a country has gone through almost every type of misfortune that could be conceivable since they got their independence in 1804. What could be looked at, though, is that if you could get some of the best and brightest minds in the country and among the diaspora, you could get them to like have a few meetings with each other and map out a 30-year plan or a generation-long plan of where we want Haiti to be by the middle of this century. Say that, oh, we want infrastructure to be at this level, we want education to be at this level, we want the economy to have gotten to so on and so on. 30 years is 30 by 4, but is however many quarters long, and you could do it on a quarterly basis. At the end of quarter one, we should be here, quarter two, and so on and so on. So, yeah, I've meandered on a little bit, but that was just a general point I want to make. Like, I think an all-hands-on-deck approach needs to be taken, and we say that by 2050, Haiti is supposed to be at a certain level, and we get ready to move on from there.
Gentlemen, we have about 6 hands. This gentleman here, this one right here, and then there is, then I'll go to the 2 ladies at the back, and then I'll come back to the front. Okay, and yeah.
Okay. It's a pleasure to be here. I mean, I'm just a visitor from the icy wastes of Canada at the moment, so I'm very welcome of any discussion of important issues like this. But I had a couple of questions I wanted to pose. I mean, I'm not an expert on Haiti, but sitting in Canada, I've often been involved in discussions about how much aid for Canada, how much aid for Haiti, what is the solution, is this a lost cause, and so on. And I really wanted to ask 2 questions to the panelists, because a lot of what they're saying is part of the answer, but I wanted to understand it more clearly. I mean, first, the question is, what is is there some fundamental failure in terms of dissent in Haiti, something which is unique to Haiti or is just not matured enough in Haiti, that the people have not been able to push out or resolve these issues which are, have been around for many years, maybe many decades even, in terms of how the government can be made to be more responsive to the needs of the population. And then the rider to that, as somebody who used to be involved in development cooperation, working with an aid donor, both the World Bank actually and Canadian CEDA, are the donors, the outsiders, in fact part of the cause of all these problems? I sometimes suspect that, and now I'm no longer a government bureaucrat. I can say, is the government, are the donors in fact part of the problem? And if so, what is it that people in the region here would like to happen and think should happen? And what should donors learn from this in terms of their behavior?
I decided we'll have a large round of questions and comments, and then we'll just get the panel to give its final round of responses.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I am Michelle Scobie. I'm from the Institute of International Relations. Question for Dr. Manigat and also Dr. Laguardia. And I'd like to hear your reflections on the position of CARICOM or the statements that CARICOM have made with regard to this recent crisis. What do you think is the reason for the reticence in terms of perhaps a greater involvement or greater commitment to position? And do you see any link between this and CARICOM's position on the situation in Venezuela? A linked question, well, sort of linked, is the Petrocaribe project. Was that 0% concessional arrangement, or was that something that the Haitian people would have to repay in the future? Thank you.
Good morning, Sophia Cooper, second year student, Faculty of Law. Interested in the information from the research group. So this question is for Dr. Martinez. The graph that showed the drop in donations to Haiti, I'm interested in finding out if what is happening is that Haiti is reverting to the pre-2010 position. In other words, the catastrophe that happened in 2010 resulted in a spike in donations, and now it's back at the level of the pre-2010 period. So just to have an idea of what the socioeconomic / political temperature was at that time to compare it to today.
Yes, thank you. Anthony Gonzalez from the Institute, Honorary Fellow. From my understanding of the Haitian problem, it seems to me that a fundamental requirement is that you need about 30, 40, probably 50 years of political stability in order to try to transform that society and bring people out of poverty. That's a basic requirement, as I understand, for development, if you're talking about development generally. Now, the issue has always been what kind of governance is needed in Haiti in order to get that. And there have been several different views. And here I start from where Dr. Manigat started, in the sense of trying to look for a model of governance that is best suited to Haiti. Now, the Americans have always had two views about Haiti. One is that liberal democracy can work, and that in spite of the level of poverty, it can still be practiced if it is if it is pushed in a certain kind of a way. But you've also had the second view, held largely by the Pentagon and some of these other people, that you need, in order to get the stability, you require a military dictatorship, a kind of benign one, that would stay in power for about 30 years and transform the country to a level where you can then move into liberal democracy. Now, I'm not aware of all the discussion in Haiti by the political scientists, by the NGO groups and so forth, but I remember Dr. Manigat's father, Professor Leslie Manigat, arguing that the model he saw as being necessary for Haiti in some kind of transitional period was what probably the Chavistas call the civico-militare. That is to say, you need some kind of combination between civic society and the military people in order to bring that stability to Haiti to get the development that you require. Now, Aristide came and he got rid of the army, and I don't know what's happening with that. I understand there may be some efforts to bring it back, but the point keeps coming back to me, because what I'm seeing here is that I think somebody mentioned there's a honeymoon period of 6 months. Some people say every 2 years you have these revolts in Haiti. This is nothing new. This occurs every year. You could expect it will occur, that people come out on the streets because you're dealing with underdevelopment and a massive level of poverty. And from the time you begin a reform process, you're going to run into that kind of opposition. So my question to the panelists, and in particular to Dr. Manigat, is what is he thinking in Haiti about the kind of model that would work successfully to bring that stability and development that we're all looking for? Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, I'm Lisa Gordon, a PhD candidate at the Institute and research assistant. I'm just throwing out a suggestion, how to provide aid to a society that is suspicious of foreign occupation. I think, shouldn't we move from the whole model of aid and more look at the concept of trade? I'm saying this because I'm looking at China and the type of relationship they developed with many African nations, which was the whole concept of trade and not aid. And though the Haitian population is not formally educated, what Haiti does have is human capital, in the sense that they have a large population that is very gifted relative to craft, art, woodwork, and music. And I think if Western countries and CARICOM are really serious about assisting Haiti economically to come out of this whole dependency dilemma that they face, I think there needs to be a whole reconfiguration of how to help Haiti, rather looking at it from the standpoint as to how we can trade with Haiti based on their resources, human capital. That's, yeah.
I'm Compton-born, Professor Emeritus at U.W.I. I want to compliment the panel on very informative presentations. I've been engaging with Haiti on and off in a variety of capacities since the early 1980s. I was there in August last year, and had the opportunity to go around the country a bit and to interact with some of the emerging business elite in the country, and to make inquiries about some of the old political actors in the system as well. And so I have a couple of questions having listened to the panel. First of all, are there behind-the-scenes actors in what we are seeing on the streets now? And who might these people be? One thing that comes to mind, and I heard no mention of it at all, because I was struck by it when I went to Haiti last, is the influence of narcotics gangs and the visibility of them and the control they seem to exert over certain geographical areas. So I wonder. I also, when I was there, asked about Jean-Bertrand Aristide. And I was told that he's somewhere around, that he started a university, but it was felt by some people that this was just a cover for political activities. So is there a possibility that some of what we're seeing is the work of old political players committed to maintaining their status quo in terms of governance systems? Secondly, what is the role of the Haitian diaspora? Are they committed to changes in the governance system, or are they wanting to perpetuate the governance system? What is their role? The third point I wanted to make, and this is really a small comment, is that we should not rely so heavily on the macroeconomic data that is given for Haiti or provided by Haiti, however accurate it might be, to get a real insight into the living conditions of Haitians. I think we need to go beneath the surface and look for and utilize household survey data. It certainly struck me when I was there last time that probably as a consequence of remittances, probably as a consequence of the large influx of foreign aid after the 2010 earthquake, that there had been some change, positive change, in the conditions of living in Haiti. Certainly if one looks at roadworks and water supply, I think there's some evidence of that. So while we not denying that there is a serious poverty problem, I think we have to go a bit deeper if we are trying to construct measures that might be effective.
I think that you have gotten a very fulsome round of questions and comments. Notwithstanding that, I just want to add one more, please, or two more, and then I'll return the floor to the panel. Two things. I'm wondering, how can we gauge the level of the Haitian electorate's faith in the electoral process? The last two presidential elections have seen President Moise elected by only 19% of the electorate turning out, and before that, President Martelly by only 23% of the electorate, which would seem to suggest a very low amount of confidence in the whole electoral process to start with. And of course, that is a major element in the governance system. And from my reading, I get the impression that there is quite a strong perception that, well, two things. One, on the one hand, you have considerable interest in participation, in presidential participation in the elections, because you have about 40 to 50 candidates putting themselves forward. But at the same time, there is also a perception that the ultimate outcome rests partly on external actors, on the approval or the support of the core group. I just wondered if I could get some reaction to that from our panelists, and how all of that affects the engagement of the Haitian population with the electoral process. The second thing I wanted to say, we have been raising questions, and very well deserved questions, on CARICOM's responses to the governance crisis in Haiti. I think we should remember that there is a Haitian diaspora across the Caribbean. There's a huge Haitian diaspora in Latin America, in South America. And there is a huge Haitian diaspora in the Dominican Republic. But in addition to that, there are now Haitian citizens, CARICOM citizens, living and working in several CARICOM countries. And gradually, those people are engaging in national life in two ways. I read a press announcement from St. Kitts and Nevis last week, where the Haitian community there was expressing their appreciation of having had an audience with the government to express their needs and their positions concerning their situation as Haitian citizens, as CARICOM people working in St. Kitts and Nevis. I have also noticed that there's a growing registration within the open campus of the University of the West Indies of Haitian students who are seeking to get accredited diplomas in tourism management and in other sectors, which will enable them to get a stronger foothold in the labor market in the rest of the Caribbean. I think these are important trends, and I was wondering if the panel would care to comment on them when we are thinking of Haiti's presence in the Caribbean. It's not just the Haitian government, and it's not just CARICOM governments. It's people and civil society groups and individuals seeking to make a decent living and to express themselves on the future of not only their own society, but the region as a whole. So over to members of the panel. Shall we have their comments in the same order as they spoke earlier? Thank you very much. Sabine?
Yes, well, many questions, and of course I will try to
you choose.
Make quick comments on all of them. Is dialogue enough? Certainly not, but it is the first time that dialogue has been accepted as a prospect by all parties. this dialogue thing has been going on for decades. There was a politician a long time ago. I will not, for question of time, speak too much about it, but we started with the idea. But today, I think all actors in the Haitian present crisis and in the society are aware that there has to be some kind of dialogue. With whom? With or without the government, that is another story. I think we went a little through that, and it's not possible to tell more about it. But yes, dialogue is necessary, and everybody is aware of that. What is at stake? What is at stake is certainly what the second person, Sean Valley, I think, said. When he talked about has Haiti reached the bottom in 2010? What is at stake is a change in this system that everybody is aware that is obsolete. It cannot fulfill the minimum interests, including of the private sector and the oligarchy. Very quickly. Is there a fundamental failure in Haiti? No, I don't think so. I'm the person who thinks that Haiti has its own specificities. Haiti has also proved to be a viable country like any others. And the problem that we're living today is, in some ways, prefigures some of the problems that other countries are facing, but in very different conditions because our history has been very different. CARICOM's statement in the crisis, from what I've read and what I understand, has been both of an offer for a greater involvement, but also absolute respect for the internal dynamics of Haiti and the non-intervention stance that I'm the ones who here in Haiti appreciate very much, coming from countries like not only the CARICOM, but countries like Mexico and Venezuela, talking about Petrocaribe. I'm not sure I'm answering to all of them, but I don't think it's other panelists will. We're talking about Haiti needs 50 years of stability to develop. I don't know. I think that Haiti needs to be clear about what the majority of the actors want to be able to develop a more stable system. I don't think stability will bring development. I think stability is I think that dialogue is the condition for stability, and then we can talk about the other things. In any case, the Haitians would be the one to decide if they want a liberal democracy or military dictatorship or any mix of that. My father has had very an evolution in the way he used to see Haiti from the outside when he was in Trinidad and then in Venezuela, and then from the inside until he passed. I'm not sure that the civic military mix has been his last view about this, but many questions. Important behind the scene actors, definitely. One of the big problems that we have here in Haiti today is that there are behind the scene actors that are definitely shaping some of the solutions that can be put forward in a dialogue, but there is no information about the exact identity of these vaccine actors. Politicians, definitely. Gangs, also. Drug traffickers, I don't know, maybe. I don't think it's as heavy in Haiti as it is in other countries in the region, but I'm not sure I have all the information. The diaspora definitely has a role to play. Is it committed to a change or does it favor status quo? I think it depends a lot on the generation. It depends a lot on the social sector that we're talking about. And I don't think there's one diaspora position. I think diaspora is like a group where we can find all kinds of resources and also of obstacles. It's not per se a group, in my opinion. And about what Jessica was said at the last, I think we can consider that one thing, in my view, since 1995, the Haitian population has shown that it does not believe anymore in the electoral system for many reasons that cannot be even put on the table now for questions of time and because they're very complex. But between the dissolution that came after the Aristide, the coup d'etat against Aristide, the manipulation of the international community of further elections until the last one, the hard time we had accepting that elections were celebrated in 2015, and then again in 2016, like the population was not really convinced that the results were according to the expressions of their votes. So yes, there's a lot to do for the population to regain confidence in the electoral systems, but then again, there's no other so far that can lead us to a democratic system. So these are the things that within the dialogue should be put forward in terms of not only the votes, but also the institutions that we want. What kind of institutions, what kind of parliament, what kind of executive, etc. I will stop here. All the others have to speak also. Thank you very much.
Sabine, over to Honore.
Because of the fact that Sabine has answered some of the questions, I won't touch on all of them. But if I go, Dr. Alvarez mentioned the question of strong opposition to foreign presence in Haiti. So did Dr. Laguardia, in reference to the two United Nations missions of recent vintage, MINUSTA, which I led, which was established in 2004 after the departure of President Aristide, and which concluded in 2017, and which had a mandate to assist the Haitian government and the Haitian Electoral Council with respect to elections. So that I worked on the question of the elections of 2015 and the election subsequently of 2016. Let me just say that over and beyond the philosophical position that may be held with respect to the foreign presence in Haiti, I just want to make the point that the United Nations was requested on every occasion that there was a renewal or an extension of the mission, the MINUSTA, by the government of Haiti. MINUJUST, the United Nations Mission for Justice Support in Haiti, was established in 2017 when MINUSTA left to focus on strengthening the rule of law, judicial and justice institutions, and to continue the work with respect to helping the Haitian National Police with its professionalization. Now, if I go back to the question of the elections, in 2015, when the presidential election was held for the first time, because that 2015 presidential election, in fact, was decided in 2016, the election was rerun. In 2015, you mentioned, Professor Byron, a number of candidates. I just want to put forward some figures just for the information. There were 70 presidential candidates presenting to the Electoral Council for the election that should have taken place, or that did take place in October of 2015. The Electoral Council, having done its work on the candidatures and seeing whether they all met the requirements and so on, came up with definitively 58 candidates for the presidential election alone. And I think the final list of 58 came down to 54 or 56, if I'm not mistaken. When the preliminary results of these elections were issued by the Electoral Council, and I must say that as head of MINUSTA, I had no involvement with the Electoral Council on matters falling within the remit of the Electoral Council. When those results were put out, there were two candidates who were to go to a runoff. The now President Moïse and Mr. Jude Célestin of a party called La Paix. And there was a large hue and cry of fraud in the elections and massive fraud in the elections. I'm putting forward this information and wondering, in a situation like this, one would have expected that candidates, remember there were 54 candidates, would have come forward to challenge the results of the elections. As things stand, there were two formal challenges presented following those elections. One candidate who had perhaps had 7% of the vote, and another who had 0.08% of the vote, and who indicated that the result did not manifest, or in the result, that candidate did not see the intention of the electorate in his regard. I will leave it there without any further comment, but just to say we're talking about 0.08% of the vote. On the question of the dialogue, yes, I agree with Dr. Manigat. Dialogue in itself is not sufficient and will never be sufficient. The question is, what are the points or the items for negotiation, and what is the agenda for this dialogue? And as she said, and as I said earlier, there is what seems to be a recognition that something is required, some form of engagement via dialogue is required, and so that answers the question of the utility or the usefulness of the dialogue. What is at stake in the politics of the dialogue? Of course, I would imagine the usual, those who might want to exercise some kind of dominance, if you will, in the whole question of dialogue. As things now stand, there are some political actors who have made it quite clear that they will not engage in any dialogue or in any negotiation with the government. how to provide aid to a society wary of foreign occupation. I think we need to make a clear distinction between the UN mission, which has been described as foreign occupation, and aid. The United Nations has, in addition to the mission which now exists in Haiti, MINUJUST, about 18 agencies, funds, and programs which function in Haiti in the same way that agencies, funds, and programs of the United Nations function in Trinidad and Tobago and in many places, focusing on children, women, the UN Development Program, and so forth and so on. The mission, the peacekeeping mission, is not a mission that is designed to provide aid. The MINUSTA, as I had said, was a mission which had a military component, a police component, and a civilian component, and had a mandate with respect to professionalization of the Haitian National Police, with respect to institutional strengthening, with respect to support to the Electoral Council and to the government for the purposes of organizing elections. But MINUSTA was not an aid entity, and MINUJUST has a mandate, as I said, for support to the justice system, strengthening of the rule of law, and continued professionalization of the Haitian National Police. On the question of the core group, the core group was established in 2004 when the Security Council decided on the creation of a mission, and it's gone through several changes. The creation of a mission to support the government of Haiti at the time on the request of the then Provisional President Boniface Alexandre of Haiti. The core group, Dr. Laguardia mentioned, does not have a Caribbean representative. The core group were, in fact, and the group itself has had some changes, the core group constitutes the major donors. And so the core group now comprises Brazil, Canada, France, Spain, Germany, the United States, the UN, and the OAS. There is, and I think this is something that we should note, there is only one resident CARICOM diplomatic mission in Haiti, and that is the Embassy of the Bahamas. There was an office of the Caribbean community designed to support Haiti with respect to what needed to be done with respect to the single market and economy, but that office has not functioned in Haiti, has not been present in Haiti since 2013. I don't know if there is, well, I thought I would leave this to Dr. Manigat. Professor Bourne asked about former President Aristide, and former President Aristide is, like other former presidents in Port-au-Prince, still very much present and is engaged by the government, whichever the government happens to be of the day, and by certain members of the international community, as are other former significant political figures. I think the question of how do we gauge the electorate's confidence in the electoral system, I think we've said a lot about that, and Dr. Manigat has said a lot about that, and so I will leave that there. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Well, thanks for the questions. Many of the questions actually are extremely difficult for have a complete answer, so I will address a few of them, and also because of the panelists that had answered before, they had already addressed many of these issues. I would like to concentrate in the topic of aid, actually. And there was a question that has to do with this aid evolution, especially after 2010s. I believe that in the case of Haiti, we can also see there is a kind of aid exhaustion, aid fatigue. That's the word, thank you. And aid fatigue. After 2010, there was many donors, many funds that were addressed to Haiti. And I believe that also when now that we are talking about governance, we can see that in the case of Haiti, we can also identify a problem in terms of how to manage properly all these funds. Did they have the infrastructure? Did they have the organization? Did they have the capacity to manage this funding in an effective way and in a transparent way? So part of what we are seeing today, and has also to do with how all this Petrocaribe fund has been using, has to do also with a problem that is on the root of the system, that has to do on how to manage funds that are coming from abroad. How can you have the responsibility, and how can you effectively allocate it and put into work? So yes, now we are also, let us remember that in the last years we can see also a more stressful economic situation in the region and also globally. So it's also this is also a point that is also giving us the sign that, of course, resources going to Haiti are going to diminish. And we are getting away from the 2010 moment. There is a difficult economic situation, and also we have donors that see that they don't have a clear response on what happened to the funds. So also that make people to become more cautious. At the same time, with all this aid situation, I mean, when you have a weak infrastructure and a weak organization to manage that, this is the open door for corruption. And this is also something that has been going and has been involved in many of these managing of resources that are coming from abroad. I was talking about the Petrocaribe case because this is the one that has been triggering this new wave of protests, but this is something that we can also identify with some many funds that has been burst to Haiti. Schools that were never rebuilt, infrastructure that was never put in place to work, ghost enterprises that never existed, etc., etc., etc. So how to manage aid in the case of the Haitian system, social, political, economic, is a challenge. We need to understand, and I believe that this is a challenge that Haitian society has, how to put in place a system that actually allows to manage all these funds in a transparent and effective manner. This is something that is part of the many things to rethink in this new opportunity to actually try to build a Haitian model that works for Haiti. In the case of Petrocaribe, that was another question. Actually, Petrocaribe works as a loan. I mean, it's a very advantaged loan. I believe you have 25 at least years to repay it at 1% of interest. So you can see that this is a very advantaged loan, but it is a loan. You have to repay that. And if you didn't make a good use of the resources to put it in place to actually allow for an economic infrastructure transformation, then you lose the opportunity to actually use the funds to have resources to pay from now until 25 years. So this is a major challenge that all the countries involved in the Petrocaribe structure have. It is not a gift. It is a concessional loan, very advantaged, but it's something that has to be repaid. And now that now that years are passing, and we are near the 25, getting near to the 25-year limit to start to repaying the major part of that loan. This is going to be a topic that I believe we will be talking more in the region for sure. In terms of the CARICOM involvement, I believe that when thinking about CARICOM and interacting in this Haitian situation, what I also believe is that CARICOM is the group of countries that is in a better position to understand Haiti. Out of this, some of the panelists was talking about this folklorical, exotic way of understanding Haiti. Because in the Caribbean, we can see that many of the problems that Haiti has are Caribbean problems as well. In Haiti, they are expressed differently because of historical other factors, but they are not strange to us. And so I believe that we actually could play a major role in terms of how, at least how to facilitate dialogue in a proactive manner. It is not only about being aware, but actually trying to be a regional actor that could be more involved, not necessarily on bursting resources, but actually trying to play a role on facilitating a solution to the problem. And I believe that getting some involvement in dialogue could be a good step to start. Some other well, I would like to address, well, taking in the idea of Lisa about Haitian possibilities. I also agree that Haiti has tremendous possibilities on developing creative economy and cultural industries. Maybe this is something that many investors has been overlooking. That could be something to promote, at least for the case of Haiti, something that could be put forward. I also agree with how to walk or looking beyond the macroeconomic figures. Actually, in our group, there is one researcher. He's based on the Dominican Republic, and since there is this tremendous porosos, oh my God, no, but it's this tremendous influx in the border between Haiti and the porosity, the porosity of the border between Haiti and the Dominican Republic actually is something that is usually overlooked, but that gives us a really good idea of some other economic, social dynamics that actually are working for many Haitian population, and that has been beneficial for them in many ways. So how to understand that is also something that we do not understand, especially when thinking about the tension between Haiti and the Dominican Republic. In Haiti, there is a large informal economy that usually is out of the figures. So those, I agree that those are areas that we need to look as well to understand the complexity of the Haitian society. I don't have much to say about the rest. In terms of the Haitian diaspora, I believe that, well, and I'm talking now out of the blue here, but maybe the Haitian diaspora behaves very much as the Caribbean diaspora as a whole. So if we know how our diaspora works in the region, maybe we can understand this kind of relation that is established that works more, I believe, in terms of family, small group communication, but that has not a real involvement, and there are many reasons of that yet in political transformation in home countries, and there are many reasons for that as well. I will leave it there.
Thank you, Jacqueline. And finally, Fabienne, would you like to make some final remarks?
Have been answered two, three questions on Haitian diaspora. From my perspective, it's not an homogeneous concept. It means like when we talk about Haitian diaspora, we refer to different situations, different contexts, different motivations. The Haitian diaspora, depending on the countries where it is settled, refers to different generations. You have the young generation, you have people that have been there for 30, 40 years. Their status is quite different. They have different levels of integration to the country. Some of them have changed their nationality, some don't, and it's that makes a huge difference in the link that there is to their country. They have different positions. Some are in very precarious situations, illegal. Others are in more comfortable situations. So it's interesting, I think, to consider this concept from really a broad perspective and making differences in what kind of public and population we are talking about. The second point that has interest for me is what Jessica Barron introduced around the students, Haitian students following studies on the open campus of U.W.I. I think that it's an extraordinary opportunity for them to gain increase in the level of education. For me, it raises two questions, two issues. First is how could we support them in this willingness to gain more education? And the other issue is how to respecting their freedom, but how to maybe not favoring the fact that this leads to brains departing the country. So this question of education is, for me, a sensitive one, because it's both how to favor, how to encourage education, and also how to encourage people to find and to contribute to the country from inside. That's easy to say when you're from outside, but that's an issue. And finally, on dialogue, I think it's important to pay attention to different dimensions. Of course, dialogue is a necessary condition. It's a start, a beginning to build a project. It's not enough, and I would say that it's important to make strategic choices regarding the actors that will participate in the process, in the dialogue process. It is also important to pay attention to the outcome of the dialogue. What are the actors willing to contribute to? Is it exchange? Is it a project? Is it an agreement? So the outcome of that dialogue is of a big importance for me. And finally, I would say that it will have to be supported by both internal actors and resources, and also external, because in Haiti, we know that sometimes it's not enough to hold a project if some external influential actors don't support it, or at least are not hostile to the project. And we have events in history that from which we could learn on this point. And to finish with the trade concept that I find, of course, interesting. And as in the case of Haiti, it will not only be trade from an economic perspective, as in China, but also, and this is linked to what I said just before, also trade from a political perspective. What alliances, what supports, what collaborations can be Haiti can engage in. I think that's really important, because trade today is also much a political issue, even more than an economic solution. That's it for me, and thank you again to all speakers for this very, very interesting exchange.
Fabienne, and thanks to the entire panel. and to the audience for the interaction. But it's not my place really to give a vote of thanks today, and so I'd like to call on Miss Candia James, one of our PhD students, who is going to give the formal vote of thanks from the Institute of International Relations.
Chair, members of the panel, specially invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is a privilege to extend a vote of thanks on behalf of the Institute of International Relations to all who have contributed in one way or the other to make this panel discussion a success. First, let me thank the Director of the Institute of International Relations, Professor Jessica Byron, who has been the driving force behind these series of panel discussions. Her vision, interest, and hard work has once again resulted in another thought-provoking discussion. I wish to also thank the panelists for sharing their expertise with us, Dr. Sabine Manigat, Dr. Sandra Honore, Dr. Jacqueline Laguardia Martinez, and Dr. Fabian Alvarez, who have taken the time to discuss the complexities of Haiti's governance and developmental challenges with us. Thank you for your support and for such an informative presentation. Let's give them a round of applause. I thank all of you who have accepted our invitation to attend this event. Your active participation and open dialogue are appreciated. Before concluding, let me express our sincere gratitude and appreciation to the Secretariat of the Institute of International Relations and other support staff for their logistical support and guidance in making this event possible. In closing, I would like to leave you with a quote from Timothy Pina from his book, Heart of Haiti. He believes that there is still hope with Haiti, and his quote is, "Never give up on hope. Most of the greatest achievements of humanity were accomplished by tired, discouraged people who never gave up on hope. Anything is possible if you truly believe." I thank you and God bless.
This concludes our panel discussion. A million thanks to Sabine and Fabienne for being with us today, and see you again soon. Bye. Ladies and gentlemen who are with us physically, if you haven't had a drink yet, there are drinks at the back of the room. Please feel free, and thanks for coming.